Much of Jeffrey Epstein's life was a mystery. Questions still surround how he went from a college dropout to a multimillionaire financier to a convicted paedophile, and facing charges of running a sex trafficking ring and coercing numerous underage girls to perform sex acts. He pleaded not guilty, and now many of those questions will never be answered. In the early hours of August 10, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell at New York's Metropolitan Correctional Center, where he was awaiting trial. Authorities called it an apparent suicide. The politically connected financier's death occurred a day after a court unsealed documents alleging new details of sexual abuse claims and associates. At the heart of the documents connected to a 2015 defamation case are allegations by a woman, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who claimed that Epstein kept her as a teenage sex slave. The accusation echoes similar allegations he had faced for more than a decade.
Epstein is charged in a 2-count indictment, sex trafficking of underage girls. Epstein is alleged to have abused dozens of victims.
So how did we get here? Epstein began his career as a high school math and physics teacher. After failing to finish college, he took a brief job at the prestigious Dalton School in Manhattan at the age of 21. From there, he shifted into the world of investment banking, joining Bear Stearns before moving on to start his own investment firm. But it wasn't until he befriended Leslie Wexner, billionaire and CEO of L Brands in the late 1980s, that his fortune really took off. Although how he got so rich is still very much unknown. There are no public records of his investments, and his clients, besides Wexner, are all a secret. What we do know is that by the 1990s, he had managed to accumulate several extravagant properties, including a multiple-story townhouse in Manhattan, a mansion in Palm Beach, a private estate in New Mexico, an apartment in Paris, and a private island in the Caribbean, according to court documents. Soon, he was rubbing shoulders with some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful people. It wasn't until 2005 that Epstein's lavish life took a turn. Around this time, he came under investigation by Palm Beach police after accusations surfaced from several underage girls accusing him of offering money for massages and sex acts. As part of a plea deal, Epstein eventually pleaded guilty in 2008 to state prostitution charges and served 13 months. He also registered as a sex offender and paid restitution to the victims identified by the FBI. This controversial agreement was brokered by then U.S. Attorney and now former United States Secretary of Labor, Alexander Acosta. It allowed him to avoid federal charges and a prison sentence.
I understand what the victims say, and I'm not here to try to say that I can stand in their shoes or that I can address their concerns. I'm here to say we did what we did because we wanted to see Epstein go to jail.
Epstein then remained largely out of the headlines until 2018, when the Miami Herald published an investigation which included interviews with more than 60 women who say they were abused by Epstein. That reporting raised more questions about his plea agreement and led the Justice Department to open an investigation into his case.
I am calling on the Department of Justice's Office of Professional Responsibility to make public the results of its review of Acosta's handling of the Epstein case.
In early July, Epstein was jailed after a federal indictment accused him of sex trafficking dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14 years old. He pleaded not guilty to the charges.
The alleged behavior shocks the conscience. And while the charged conduct is from a number of years ago, it is still profoundly important to the many alleged victims.
After his arrest, at least a dozen new victims came forward. On July 23, 2019, while awaiting trial, Epstein was found in his Manhattan jail cell with marks on his neck and placed on suicide watch. Less than a week later, Epstein was taken off suicide watch, according to a source familiar with the matter. The morning of August 10th, the Federal Bureau of Prisons announced Epstein's death, saying he had died of an apparent suicide.